Hi, welcome to the July summer update from Dean Park. During June and early July I've been quite busy in and around Dean Park, especially with this low relief factory which I've finally completed the exterior for. I'll take you through some of the actual build parts of this in the video, including the roof structure, and then we'll have a look at the finished article in more detail. I'll then place it on the depot where it was designed for. I've also been looking at some scenic areas around about the station. 4 areas in particular that I did back in 2013. They were looking a bit tired. I did them when static grassing was very new to me, and I now feel I could do a better representation of scenic material, so I have redone 4 of those. I've done a step-by-step video on one of those areas, and the link to that will be at the end of the video and at the top of the screen. I've also got a new bit of rolling stock, as well as having trouble with a couple of bits of current rolling stock, so I'll take you through that as well. If you have any questions, please get in touch. Way back at the beginning of lockdown, I'd assembled this, and I've really made quite slow progress over the last couple of months on it. The reasons for that is one, I've had other things to do, and 2, there's a lot of techniques here I was trying for the first time, a lot of mediums like these weathering powders, so I wanted to practice to make sure that I did the building justice. Okay, scratch builds take a long time. It's almost a precision art in getting everything to fit together, so I didn't want to make a mess of it by rushing it to get it on a video. That's not what I do. Focusing on the roof, these panels here that I've got, this is a test piece, have been made up using the Scale Model Scenery Roof Slate and Tile Pack, which is LX228-00. I'll pop the link in the description below, and you cut them into strips and offset them and glue them in position. I glued them in position using spray glue. I felt that was a lot cleaner and neater than using the rocket card glue. There was no spillage at all, so basically each strip that I did, I sprayed with spray glue, popped it on, did the next, did the next, did the next, obviously overlapping each time to give that tiled slate effect. Okay, at the back we've got this overhanging bit that was at the end, so to overhang to go into the guttering, and you'll notice there's another overhang there at the edge. That was so it clipped onto the roof, and so you don't see anything other than the tiles from looking down at the roof. The painting of it was done using I primed it first, and then I used a Tamiya XF54 to give a base coat, and then I used various greys from Tamiya, including XF24, mixed together with the 54 to give various tones to the tiles, or the slates in this case. Now, down the left hand side here, you'll notice a separate bit, if you like. I masked that bit off, or should I say, first of all, I used a black wash, but I felt that blended it all in too much and didn't give varying tones. So what I did was I masked that off, and then I did the airbrushing with the different shades to try and achieve that tiled look. Obviously it's not been weathered yet. I'll be using my Tamiya powders for that to get some streaking, grime, and possibly moss build up as well. So that'll go on the roof. I say it's a great kit, takes a bit of time, and you know, if you use the spray glue, it certainly gives a nice clean finish, and there's no oozing of rocket card glue. That is another option, but I prefer to go with the cleaner option, which is the spray glue. Scratch building is a challenge, but when you add in angles and roof angles, it starts to take on a whole different kind of perspective, and obviously takes a lot longer to design around. There's the roof panel in position. Okay, as I said, you can see the bit at the side there, that just clips on. There's a runner inside there, so this bit sits on. Okay, and it just clips in like so. This other piece here, which will have the window in it, I've had to cut it around with the MDF there. This will clip in into here, he says, as he tries to get it in. There we go. Okay, there will be a ridge tile put along there, or some possible lead. Okay, lead flashing. This bit here will be covered with a kind of edging. I've got some stuff here, all right, and it's been laser cut, and it will go on there to make a nice clean edge, so you won't see this exposed brick part there. So that's how it'll all fit together, and obviously the next bit will go on here, and so on and so forth. What I've also done, and I'll change the camera angle to show you this, is I'm adding in some guttering. What I'm using for guttering is some plastruct section here. It's kind of like a U-shaped section, and that will sit in along the bottom of the window, in between the bottom of the window and the bottom of the tiles. Okay, and then it will give the appearance that the water will then drain out through a hole here, which will be a kind of drain box, and then it will come down through a downpipe. Those kind of boxes will give the kind of period feel and cast iron and stuff to kind of backdate the building a little bit. So that's the plan for that. Obviously it'll be fitted in there prior to me fitting all the roof and weathered up. As you can see, I've now got the glazing in the window frame and then the window frame in the support, and they've been put in place on the roof, and they're held in using Deluxe Speed Bond, which is basically a fast drying PVA. If you look at one of the spare windows I've got, you can see the glazing has been weathered. The frame will also be getting a weathering using the Tamiya powders. How I did the weathering on the glazing was I airbrushed a very thin down Humbrol 32 onto the plastic, gave it 3 or 4 minutes, and then wiped down with a paper towel with some enamel thinners to give that streaking effect. Okay, you can probably see on the first one there, it was quite dirty at the top, and obviously the rain has washed off some of it, and I've chosen to do a varied tone of dirty glazing all the way along. This one here is particularly dirty because it's near the chimney for the boiler house, so it might get some of the smuts and stuff landing on that part of the roof more than, shall we say, the double story one. So I even think of the position where the building's going to be and then tailor the weathering to suit. Hopefully from this angle you'll be able to see one of the bits of guttering in between the tiled and the window section there. That was cut to size, it was primed, it was painted, and then it was weathered using the Tamiya powders and Humbrol powders to give dirt and build up of basically muck in the actual U-shaped part of the guttering. Whilst it's not readily seen, I do like to add these little bits of detail to a model, so when you do look closer you can pick these little details out. Okay, I've fitted the roof and I've also fitted these ridge stones. Okay, if you wanted to maybe backdate the model a bit further, you would maybe use LED flashing along the top there, but I've gone with a kind of a tile appearance, okay, to match the tiles on the roof. I don't know if the camera's picking it up particularly well, but there is additional weathering, subtle weathering, using the Tamiya weathering packs, okay, that I've used quite extensively on this project, I have to say. And what I'm basically doing here is I'm going to weather them. So to do that, I'm going to use soot, sand, light sand and mud. Okay, if it was LED flashing, you would you might want to change the tones, etc., of how LED would weather. So I'm just using a bit of paper there to mask the roof because I've already weathered that. Alright, I hope you can still see that on the camera. And you can see where I've done it before on other parts of the ridge tiles. So I'm going to take some mud, I've mixed the colours together, hold the paper, and I'm going to do the joins first. So just using the supplied sponge, put some in the joins there, okay, and then I'm just going to feather up from the bottom where the water would, you know, make its way onto the tiles. And then I might take, so I'll take that away so far. Again, I don't know if the camera's picking up, but there is a wee bit of dirt in the joins there. Sometimes you'll get some, shall we say, white marks. Could be birds dropping, you know, seagulls tend to sit on roofs. There is a white powder there for doing that as well, if you want to go down that route. So maybe I want to put some lighter colours just there, on the top there, maybe moss has accumulated there. Alright, and then a bit black. Just to give it a general grime. Not everywhere, just go where, you know, it's just imagination here. I'm going to put a little bit of black at the corner here Maybe there's a lot of grime that comes off the roof edging which isn't fitted yet. And if you do put on too much of these weathering powders, are great. You just take a paper towel, dampen it, and then wipe it off. And it can help blend it in as well, actually. I'm just learning how to use these powders, but you know what, the creativity of them, they're so controllable, right? It's up to you how much you put down. You rub the excess off there, maybe have a black kind of there where it's just been dirty. There. Hopefully you're picking up that. I've got different shades in there. It's been weathered. Tried to match up sometimes with the streaking on the roof. For example, at the moment I've got a kind of brown streak going down there, and I've got brown round about the same area, so you can tell where obviously it's streaked down from the ridge. What you don't want to do is overdo it, and then it looks like it's been, you know, poured in tar and oil. With weathering, it's all subjective, depending on what direction the roof's facing in, whether it's a south facing, a north facing, and you know, is there any greenery around about it? Is there chimneys that are likely to, you know, deposit smuts and soot on the area? So really you've got to hedge your bets and try and get it to fit in with the surrounding area. Well, that's the Tamiya powders now applied to all the ridges. What I'll do now is I'll let it kind of dry. It's a semi-wet compound as it is, so let that dry off, and then I'll go and cut the flagstones for the edge of the roof. Looking closer in at the drainage, we've got the drainage buckets there, taking it into the downpipe to give the building a bit of a period feel. We've also got the guttering there as well. This is all ratio accessories. I've primed them and then painted them with a flat black Tamiya before adding some of the weathering from Tamiya to give it rust effects, dirt and just general wear. You'll see the lintels are separately fitted parts. They were made from plasticard, they were primed and they were painted with Precision Paints weathered concrete before given a weathering with powders and sealed in place, as were the laser cut windowsills there. The windows are my own design, laser cut as well, and the actual thickness of the frame is I think about 0.4 millimeters, so it's pretty thin. It's 0.4 on the drawing, but when the laser cutter cuts MDF, it tends to burn a bit off, so probably less than 0.4 there. They're strengthened obviously by the external frame and the glazing which I've placed behind it, which I've weathered, and I've done the details on that in a previous video, and I'll put the link to that at the top of the screen. Looking at the shutter, this is a scale model scenery shutter which I've painted grey and then used weathering powders to give it a grimy appearance, especially with a collection of dirt along the bottom and up in the corners. Originally the building would have probably had a normal hinge door. This is to kind of replicate something that's been, shall we say, renovated more recently, and a more modern door has been fitted. I've even managed to model a crack at the corner of the brickwork there, where there would be stress with the corner at the lintel. I'll just very quickly look at the new logo I've got for the layout. This was, I would say, an impulse buy, but I've had my eye on a Class 60 for some time. Ideally, I would like a petroleum subsector one to run with my forthcoming Cavalex TEAs and some of my Esso tankers. However, the next best thing was this stunning Hornby Class 60 60015 Bowfell in attractive construction subsector livery. This model was released last October-November, and it was released with the incorrect positioning of the subsector logos. The blue square was too high, it wasn't sitting on the the change in colour here on the line, so the whole logo was wrong. But to their credit, Hornby have gone away and corrected this, and I believe on my local hobby shop, he's received some body shells to swap over with existing customers' models. So I don't know if Hornby are going around issuing replacement bodies, but if they are, thumbs up. I mean, that's really good. That's the first time I've seen that from Hornby in a while. The model itself is very heavy. It's a great runner. It pulls like nothing else, and it really is one of Hornby's best diesel electric models ever. And that's high praise when you look at the Class 50 that they do. As I say, the detail is second to none. It had details in the early 2000s that other companies only dreamt of adding to their models, and it's only now that other companies are actually catching up Hornby with respect to the detail level on their Class 60. As I've said, this is in construction subsector, so I've got it pulling my cement PCA wagons from a Cura scale, and in time I'll be getting it to pull the Cavalex TEA wagons, because I've actually got a photo of this very one pulling some tankers. I'll let you see the model itself running around the layout. It really is an impressive beast. I've had a wee bit of work with my Scotrail fleet over the last month. Not all good, I have to say. The HST power car started squealing and almost stalling, and then all of a sudden releasing and shooting away like there was something going on with the motor. So I contacted Hornby, but unfortunately their repair centre is not operating just now because of COVID, and they're all remotely working, which is fair enough. So I looked down the motor part number and ordered it from Lendons of Cardiff, and they sent it up to me in rapid time. It was under a tenner for the new motor, and you compare that to £22 for a new Bachmann motor. So anyway, I fitted it and all is well. It's running silently and smooth again, so it's ready to pull the Mark III sliding door fleet. Turning to the Mark III fleet, and when I got them, I'll show you a clip just now of the train running. I found it very noisy, like the wheels were almost made of stone. So if I let you see that clip just now, and then I'll compare it with an LNER slam door Mark III coach train, you can work out for yourself which is the quieter of the two. Well, hopefully you heard the difference, and certainly the Scotrail ones were a lot louder and a lot of bogey noise. I contacted Simon Kohler down at Hornby, and he's passed it on to his design team for consideration, but a lot of people on Facebook and stuff have been talking about it, and we've decided that it's probably down to the fact that the wheels are cast. So the wheel sets are cast and not turned, and the reason they cast them is to get this brake disc detail on the wheel, which you don't actually see when it's turning anyway, and you actually don't see even when it's on the track, because you know it's almost hidden by the bogie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change out the wheel set on this Mark III with a standard Hornby coach wheel, and we'll see if there's a difference. Okay, that's me changed the wheel sets over now. The Hornby code for the wheel sets pack is R8096. You get 10 in a pack, so I'll do 2.5 coaches. So to do your Scotrail fleet, you'll need 2 packs of these. I think they're about 15 quid for a pack, which isn't cheap. You might want to test the gauging of the wheels. I found with the Scotrail coaches as they came, they were awful wobbly. So obviously the coaches and the wheel sets weren't gauged properly. To do that, I've just got a wheel gauge, and these are from West Hill Wagon Works. I'll put the link in the description below. You get 2 in a pack. And I just use the actual wheel gauge, and you push it in between the 2 wheels, and obviously if it's not gauged properly, you have to force it in. Alright, and you really want to make sure that they're nice and aligned. Okay, so it's a quick job you can do before you put the wheels on or after they're in place. But if you've got a coach that's wobbling a little bit, it's probably because the gauging's out on the axles. Here you'll catch a glimpse of 2 of the scenic areas. The one to the bottom of the screen is the one that I did the step-by-step video on. I really am pleased with that, especially now I've added in my scratch-built line-side structure here. I actually saw that at a station when I was sitting on a train, took some snaps of it on my camera phone, and I've designed it and built it myself in miniature. There's 4 of them exist. I've got 2 here. I gave 1 to my mate Mike, and Richard down at Everard Junction acquired 1 from me as well, and he's given it a Network Southeast theme. The scenic area to the back has been given more depth, more dimension, and I've used different mediums than I did before. The grass is thicker, it's longer, it's patchier, it's different heights. The use of fine leaf foliage along with other bushes gives it a variation. I've still got the communications cabinet there, and obviously the signals and the overhead masts. It goes well with the British Airways advertisement, which I made myself from an image, printed it on photo paper, gave it a matte varnish, cut it out and applied with spray mount onto a 10 Commandments advertisement board pack. I think you got 2 in the pack. I've had them there for a few years now. It just has a bit of colour to an otherwise quite green scene, and I think it's a bit of an eye-catching addition. This close-in view might show you a bit of the static grass texture and depth, as well as the varying heights and materials that the bushes are made from. You might see scenic videos using, you know, scatters. That's a bit 1990s. You know, we're in the era of using scatters as base layers and then adding coarse turfs and static grasses on top. So, you know, if you're using scatters, it's a bit two-dimensional in my opinion. The third area that I gave a scenic revamp to was this little area around the substation. I've ripped out all the old static grass, put the shrubs, bushes, some buddleii there, and just basically lifted the scene and given it more depth. The fourth and final area was this thin strip here, which before was just coarse turf. It didn't have any static grass, and there was very few kind of low-lying bushes. Actually, I used some Woodland Scenics underbrush previously, and I've employed that again here as well, just to fill in the gaps. I've used some fine leaf foliage along with patches of static grass. Obviously it's bare around where people will be, such as the relay boxes there, and again it just covers an area that's needing a bit of scenic stuff. It looked a bit bare without it, but it doesn't need too much. So I'm quite happy with that, and that'll tie in nicely to the scenic area which I'll be doing atop of the wall, which will be landscaped very shortly, and obviously scenic material, trees, grass added. Well, that's the building in situ now, and I really am impressed by how it looks. It's given the depot some era variation. For example, that warehouse would have been built maybe in the 40s and 50s, and the shed would have been the similar time scale, whereas the low relief warehouse probably more or late 70s, early 80s, and the twin engine shed again 70s and into the 80s. So I've got a mix of period buildings here, and it just gives it a more interesting feel than all having old buildings or all having modern structures. I've still got a little bit of work to do with putting some coarse turf along the bottom to hide the bottom of the wall. I've obviously got my planks of wood just chucked there just now. I covered how I weathered them in a previous video. I'll try and put the link to that at the top of the screen. I was asked in a previous video why have I done a 2-story and a 1-story. Well, just for variation, height variation, and it also covered a bit of the back scene that I didn't particularly like or didn't think would look right if it was, you know, behind a single story. So I've kind of used the 2-story to work to my favour there. I've stepped the double story forward a little bit again, just to give it a variation. It's not just a flat structure. It's all about making it eye-catching but not allowing it to overtake the scene, and that's what I've tried to achieve here. If you look at the design of the north light windows, you'll see a slight variation from the single story to the double story. The single story, I've got these additional frames in there which give the impression maybe they're windows that can be opened, and they're also a design that gives the impression that it's continuing into the back scene, so it's a continuous row of windows, whereas the double story here is a standalone unit with a solid frame all the way around. These might be in sections on the upper section, whereas these are a continuous row of windows. Okay, just gives a bit of variation and would maybe account for what went on in that part of the building. This might be office block for staff, storerooms, and then workshops. Well, that's it for the summer update. I hope you've enjoyed it and got something from it that you can possibly use on your own layouts at home. I'll certainly be focusing in the next few weeks on this factory and getting the interior and lighting done, as well as preparing the layout for the new modelling season in late summer. If you have any questions about anything you've seen, please get in touch. I always read your comments and try to reply to them all. I do get quite a few, so please bear with me if I'm not replying quite promptly. I get a lot on Gmail, Facebook and here on YouTube. Stay safe, see you soon, cheers for now.